week's episode of Mobile with the Guru. As you can see, I'm outside of Sagrada Familia, which is in Barcelona, Spain, which is also where the Mobile World Congress event has been going on all week long. I'm sure you've caught all of the news here on Sony Guru and the other sites, but I did want to spend a little bit of time looking at some of the major announcements that have been made, especially in the S60 realm. So for starters, we now have 8 new S60 powered handsets that are either on the market or coming to the market in the near future. We started out with the Sony Ericsson Idou, which is actually more of a concept phone. It's full touch screen, and it will run the first release of Symbian Foundation, so it's some sort of a variant of S60 5th edition. It has, again, a full touch screen. It also has a 12 megapixel camera, which is unbelievable. And it's really, like I said, it's a concept phone, so it probably will have a new name, and it'll probably be almost a year before it'll actually be out. So, in any case, Sony Ericsson is also a new entrant to the S60 market. They've made quite a few UIQ phones, which also uses the Symbian base, but S60 is a new one for them. So I'm really excited to see them kind of come out with a bang and really show their support for S60. I think that's really exciting to have another major manufacturer in the running for that. We also have the Samsung OmniaHD, also known as the i8910. This is, again, a touchscreen phone. It does run S60 5th edition. This one will actually probably be out a little bit sooner than the Idou, though. It has an 8 megapixel camera, and it actually shoots in 720p, which is high definition. Very, very cool. They actually beat Nokia to the HD video recording claim, which is kind of weird. I would have thought with Nokia's previous history of imaging and video and that sort of thing. In fact, we're doing the show now on a Nokia N85. But it's interesting to see that Samsung kind of took the lead from them. So, in addition to that, we have the LG KT770. As usual with LG, they didn't really publicize it. They just kind of had it hidden away in a little corner in their booth. But this is a blue and gray colored S60 slider. It's got S60 3rd edition Feature Pack 2 and a 5 megapixel camera. Other than that, the only really cool thing about it is that the navigational cluster keys are touch sensitive. So instead of having actual buttons, you just kind of touch that area and it'll activate the button. So that's kind of cool, but other than that, it's really kind of a boring phone, which is typical of LG stuff. I would like to see them doing more with S60, but you know, the last couple years they just haven't, so that's kind of sad. Then we have Nokia, who comes blazing onto the scene with 4 phones on Monday and another 5th phone on Tuesday. And these announcements were kind of interesting. The actual press event that was live cast and all that kind of stuff from Nokia were only 2 phones, the E55 and the E75. Obviously these are both E-series. They both have 3.2 megapixel cameras. They're both mainly the candy bar form factor. The E55 has a 20 key, kind of a near QWERTY keyboard, which is kind of like the BlackBerry Pearl, wherein there's more keys on there than a regular numeric keypad, and each key only has 2 letters assigned to it versus the 3 or 4 for a regular T9 numeric keypad. But it doesn't take up quite as much space as a regular QWERTY keyboard does. So that will use predictive text to make it a little bit easier to type on. I've used a couple of these. I've used the BlackBerry Pearl and I've used the new T-Mobile Shadow, both of which have this 20 key layout. And it's okay. It's a lot better on the Shadow than it is on the BlackBerry, which tells me that it's going to really come down to software as far as how it really reacts and how the predictive text works to see if this is going to be a winner or not. So we'll definitely stay tuned for that. It's got the regular shortcut keys like the E71 and the E63 have, where you have direct access to your calendar, contacts, and email, and that sort of thing. So I really like the new E-Series look, but I'm not so sure about the keyboard on the E55. The E75, on the other hand, is a regular candy bar with a standard numeric keypad. It also has a slide-out QWERTY keyboard, which is very cool. This form factor, we've seen it before for Windows Mobile. It's nothing new in the mobile industry, but it's definitely something that I've been looking forward to a long time, specifically with S60. Now, Nokia is no stranger to having T9 and QWERTY on the same phone. They have the Communicator series, which obviously have done pretty well for the last half a decade or so. The latest one being the E90. And that was actually the candy bar that flipped open to give you the full keyboard. They also have the 6822s, where this form factor started, but going on to the E70 to bring it to S60. And this is a regular candy bar where the keypad flips up and then you hold the phone in landscape to do the full QWERTY with the QWERTY keyboard broken up on either side of the display. I personally would really love to see Nokia refresh that form factor with new specs, an S60 3rd edition, Feature Pack 2 and that sort of thing. But the E75 will work fine. It's a regular candy bar, it has the slide-out QWERTY. The display is a little bit small, and it's only a QVGA screen. It's not OLED, it's very blah. And other things about the E75 that really kind of bother me is that it only has the regular 367 MHz processor, whereas all the other phones announced at Mobile World Congress have the new 600 MHz processor. So it's possible that it might be a little bit slower. I have not had a chance to verify that yet. But in any case, if all the other phones are doing it, I'm kind of sad that Nokia stuck the older processor in the E75. However, it does have a few cool things. Both the E55 and the E75 will support Engage, which are the first E-series to support Engage. They also both have a regular Nokia 2mm charger, so it's that little power plug. They also will charge via the micro USB port. So you have the option of both, which is very, very nice. One thing about the N85, which we're recording this show with, is that it does support micro USB charging, but that's all. So if you have an older Nokia charger, you're kind of out of luck. It's also kind of picky as far as what USB cords it'll charge off of. So I like that Nokia is doing both of them available on the same phone. That's very nice. They also both have 3.5mm audio ports, which is again very cool. The 6710 Navigator and the 6720 Classic were also announced. These are just normal updates to the previous 6210 and 6220 Navigator and Classic. There's really not a whole lot to see there. The Navigator got a new look. It's got a zoom bar that's right there on the front of the phone that you can use to zoom in and on maps really easily. But other than that, the feature set is just kind of boring. In fact, the 6720 Classic actually went down a step from a full xenon flash down to a dual LED. So that was kind of disappointing. I guess somebody's excited about these phones. I'm personally kind of blah on them. We've played with the 6220 Classic here, and it just wasn't anything that, you know, blew your hair back. So in any case, it's nice to see all the 4 phones that Nokia announced at Mobile World Congress, actually 5. They also, Tuesday, kind of quietly announced the N86 8-megapixel. And it's only an 8-megapixel. It does not have a xenon flash. It has a dual LED. However, as a lot of other people have noted, it will probably be a good successor to the N82, which I know a lot of people don't like hearing that, but it has a mechanical flash, which means it's going to be able to take pictures a lot faster, and it'll offer a better experience. It also has an adjustable aperture, which means that you can adjust how much light is being let into the picture, which means you're going to have better control over the results of the photos. So it could very well be that these small, minute details that don't really come out in the marketing are going to make all the difference. So I'm anxious to have a chance to play with that. In any case, all of the 5 phones that Nokia announced at Mobile World Congress are tri-band 3G, which is very, very cool. Previously, the N85 was the only tri-band 3G phone that Nokia had. There still will be 2 different variants. There will be the Euro variant, which is 900, 1900, 2100 megahertz, and then there will be the North American version, which is 850, 1900, and 2100. As most people probably already know, the Euro version will probably work pretty well, at least with AT&T in the United States, but for the full 3G coverage in North America, you're going to want to wait for the NAM version, which is the 850, 1900, 2100. But anyways, we now have 5 new US 3G phones that'll work in Europe, so you can have one phone if you're traveling back and forth across the Atlantic all the time. One phone and you've got full connectivity. Very, very cool. I'm really glad to see Nokia standardizing this and announcing the North American variants at the same time as the Euro ones. There's no delay in this. It's yet to be seen how far apart the actual launches will be as far as when you can actually get the phone. But I've talked to already a couple of people that already have the North American E75. So that one's obviously going to be probably a pretty quick launch between the Euro and the North American version. So great job, Nokia. Keep that up. Other than that, they also announced the Ovi Store, which is Nokia's software store. However, it's more of a content store than a software store because you'll be able to find ringtones, themes, in addition to applications and games. You can even upload podcasts, and we'll definitely have this show loaded and ready to go when that store launches, which should be in May. The first phone that's going to have this pre-built into the phone is going to be the N97, which will officially start shipping in June. But other phones will be able to access the store starting in May, so that's definitely cool. You'll have more details on that at symbianguru.com, and we will hope to have hands-on with all these cool phones very, very soon, so you definitely want to stay tuned. As always, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next week.